Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
The talk today is prepare the way. So the question is what are we preparing the way for? And of course, what we're preparing the way for is to become more ourselves. That we're preparing ourselves. I love that reading. You did an absolutely beautiful job, Cindy. Thank you. And that was a poem. If you've never heard of David Whyte, he's a beautiful poet. And he was talking about who we are is out there beckoning us, and at the same time, it's calling us from the very depths of our being. That the inner and the outer become one, and that's how we know what our way is. And we are here to become more ourselves. That's the way to become more you. There's also another element to prepare the way, and many of you have heard of Taoism, which is called the way. The Tao Te Ching is the way. The Tao is the way. The way is a holy and sacred place, and the way is the same thing as who we are. That our way and who we are is one. For us, the way we're doing it is prayer. We're anchoring and we're saying, we're a house of prayer. That's been a calling to this community for quite a long time. What does that mean, prayer? What do we mean by prayer? And that's something to explore. There's a lot of ways to be with prayer, what's its intention, etc. But ultimately, I think prayer is about connecting with that deepest part of ourselves. So we can say we have lots of thoughts going around in our head. We have lots of opinions. I have a lot of opinions, if you have ever met me. We all have a lot of opinions, perceptions. We have a lot of feelings. There's a lot of things happening out in the world. We have a lot of emotions. And we can pray about those things. But the deepest form of prayer is to connect with that divine presence within us, that horizon, and the outer horizon and the inner horizon. That prayer that's connecting us with the source of our life. That the prayer is about connecting and actually experiencing and remembering, as we sing every week, remembering who and what we really are as divine beings. And prayer accentuates that. So being a house of prayer is about welcoming prayer as a means to heal things externally, but also to heal us internally, to connect us with that which has never been hurt, harmed, or endangered. What an extraordinary place to live from. But I also had this experience this past week. I probably had, it's been a while since I've had what I would call a very secular week. Because I'm usually doing some sort of ministry and classes and doing some things. And this week I just let it all go. Julian came home, and I'm more aware of the preciousness of our time together, because he's saying he's graduating in May, and he's saying he's definitely got a part-time job coaching, helping coach his football team, the college where he graduated, and he wants to be a coach, which means he's going back to live up there. I don't know, for some reason I just assumed he was going to just come back and live in our house for the rest of his life. So our home. So knowing that these moments when he comes home are so precious, all last week was about spending, and we had a ball. We had a really good time. It was so wonderful. And I was still doing my spiritual practices, but it was definitely different. I was trying to fit them around the rest of this very fun life we were having, and it was harder. And then I thought, this is why we need spiritual community. Because if I had to live this way for even 2 or 3 weeks without touching base with other people who are on the spiritual path, I would slowly lose my way. Paramahansa Yogananda said that. He's came over as an enlightened being, and he said, he couldn't do what he did. He said, if I didn't surround myself with other spiritual beings. He said, I am not strong enough on my own to be out in race consciousness by myself. It would pull me down. That I need to have the people around me so I can continue to do the work that I need to do. And so a house of prayer means 2 things. It means individually becoming a house of prayer, and it means collectively being a house of prayer. And both are so important. The house of prayer, we support one another, which then impacts the world, and we support ourselves on becoming a house of prayer. The way I look at a house is that each and every one of us is a house. I used to do work with this woman named Wendy Scott, and she would do all these guided meditations, and always the imagery was our house. You might have heard this in psychology. Your subconscious, the depths of your subconscious is sort of the basement of your life, and the attic is the higher consciousness, and the living room, the main levels is your everyday living. And you can do that chakras. It's the expanded state of consciousness of the attic, the depth of consciousness are the lower chakras, and then your everyday living is here in your heart chakra in the center. Will throat, all of these are your everyday living. This is the house of prayer. That when we start working on becoming prayer and working on becoming a house of prayer, we're working on different levels at different times. But the beautiful thing about being a house of prayer, it might feel limited, but it actually includes everything. Finance, think of what happens in your house. You have to keep up with your house, you have to keep it clean, you have to, it's all the everyday living, eating, sleeping, working, your work life you carry into your home, you carry your home into your work life, your financial life, your relationships with everybody, your dreams, the dreams that you came here to fulfill, all is being nurtured in your house, in your inner house. Everything, your healing, your expansion, your enlightenment, is higher levels, I don't want to say higher, expanded levels of consciousness, all happening within the house. There's nothing that's ever excluded in a house of prayer. A house of prayer includes the entire cosmos. So when I say a house of prayer, there's no limitation there. It's just the recognition, the more we connect with that divine infinite love intelligence that is the source of our being, we feel aligned inwardly and outwardly on all levels, high, low, no, expanded depth, presence. So we give ourselves to prayer. And then we're in a community that when we come in, we know that, oh, this is a community that's a house of prayer. Like we feel it. And actually the example that I have is Center for Spiritual Enlightenment. So I know some of you have been there, were attended there. Often when I had times off, I would go to the Center for Spiritual Enlightenment for a Sunday service. But I didn't go there for a great talk or great music. And I was at Agape. Can't beat the music and talk there. I went there because in their service, every Sunday service, they went into a 10-minute silent meditation. Now, this is a community that is large. Reverend or Yogacharya Ellen started it in the 1980s, and so she's been doing this for over 40 years now, and it's thriving. They teach meditation, they teach meditation, they teach meditation. And when you go there, you know, oh, this is a meditating community. So they have, I don't know how many people they sit. They have a big sanctuary, 200-300, I don't know. It's full. At least when I was there, it was always full. So when I was there, it was pews, so you're sitting next to people, all the rows are filled, and when they go into a 10-minute silent meditation, it's silent. Nobody's moving. Yogananda is really big about not moving, by the way. So they really practice that, for 10 minutes. And that's why we go. That was the sole reason why I went to Center for Spiritual Enlightenment, was for that 10-minute silent meditation, because it was so powerful. And for me, that was even more powerful than any talk. I mean, that's not true. You at Agape, you get lifted and expanded. Every community has their gifts, but that was their gift. And so as I'm thinking about, and having a conversation with Yogacharya Ellen, she's been absolutely wonderful with me every step of the way. And we were talking about communities, and she said she made a very clear decision in herself that because if you know Yogananda, he was very honoring of all paths, and if you go to Lake Shrine, he's got statues to all the world's religions, but he was very clear, what we do here is we teach meditation. that's what she does. She says, I love Sufi dancing, I love all these different modalities, and they're all fabulous, but what we do here is meditation. So when you go there, it's meditating. There's a part about that I really like, and I'll come back to that. And so when we say a house of prayer, we want people, even if they don't know, you don't know what you're feeling, and they might not experience like, oh, everyone prays, so it's not that we're special, but it's that we're practicing, that this is a community absolutely committed to practicing prayer. There's no arrival point with any of these things. One of the things that I appreciate about Yogananda's way of doing meditation, however, because I liken it to becoming a house of prayer, a collective house of prayer. So if I go to Zen, Shunru, as you all know, Shunru is one of my teachers, and there's a very definite Zen way to meditate. So if I go to the Zen center, I'm meditating, I'm sitting in their posture on their meditation pillows, holding my hands in the right way, and they have a way of breathing, and they do their chants, and it's all very, very clear how you're supposed to meditate, with your eyes a little bit open, down, etc. Mindfulness meditation, there's a definite way to do mindfulness meditation. If you're going to a mindfulness meditation, then guide it in a way that's very clear. What I loved was when I learned, Yogananda was my first, I did TM, but when I didn't go very deep in that. I spent a lot of time with Yogananda's organization meditating, and what I loved about it, I talk about their 2 and 3 hour silent meditations on Friday and Sunday nights. You go in and they do short chants, maybe for 5 minutes, and most of them are English, so you know what you're saying, but they have a little book. And then you go into the silence. They don't tell you how to meditate. They don't go, here's the right way to meditate and here's the wrong way to meditate. You can only meditate. No one is guided. It's like whatever comes to you, to how you want to meditate. You are in a collective room of people meditating. And you feel into that divine source of your being in a way that suits you. And I've always loved the freedom of that. That sometimes when I go to very particular types of meditation practices, I do, and I will. I'll meditate whatever the group is. But I loved the freedom that I could sit with a group of people every week, twice a week for a couple hours, and nobody was monitoring or telling me how I needed to meditate. And so when I think of being a house of prayer, I think about each of us finding our way of connecting through prayer that works for us. And that there's no, you have to do it this way. There are ways that will work better for everybody, and we want to have access to it, and we'll have a 10-week prayer class of different types of prayer starting in January. Just open up, but always the intention, no matter what the process is to connect with the deepest part of yourself. To find that beautiful, just beyond yourself, and yet yourself, that we heard in the poem today, to find that way for each of us. And many of you already have found a way. And it's not to change that, because when you found that way, you know it, and that's going to be something that will be your grounding base for your whole life. Just like people who find a meditation practice, you can try all sorts of kind, but you might have one that you just this is my grounding place. This is where I go to. And it's very powerful to know that about yourself. It really is. It's a great gift. What I want to do today in the preparing the way is this month, as we know, this is our time of listening and learning. I repeat this every year. It feels a little redundant because I think most of you have been here before, so just bear with me as we repeat that there are most pilgrimages are a pilgrimage in space. You go to a place, the El Camino, you're walking someplace, Mecca. And I took an Old Testament class, and they were talking about how when the Jewish people created their creation story, because they were in exile when they created their creation story, they couldn't do a place. They had no place, so they created their creation story in time. That's why everything's about time, 7 days, because they didn't have a place. So I heard that, and I thought, and I just always have felt, and I think some of you may feel this way, I don't have any proof, just a feeling tone, that this time of year the veil is very thin, that the darkest night of the year is this month, December 20th into the 21st, December 21st. So we're getting darker and darker and darker, and yet in that darkness, the veil between ourselves and the other feels very thin and available. So it's a pilgrimage of time, and it's a period of listening. That's why we do our vision class every December, because it's a time to really listen. And always, you might be totally on your path right now and everything's aligned. It's not to deny that. That's why I love his reading. It's like, yeah, you are who you are, and just see if there's something that can take you a little bit further, like just beyond yourself. That's the title of that poem, Just Beyond Yourself. And this is the time to really listen. Just beyond yourself. And so in this idea of just beyond ourselves, of course, please attend the visionings if you can. But what I also want to play with, dance with, invite you to play in this party of joy, is a mantra or a prayer. So I'm sure most of you have heard a mantra. You may already have a mantra. It's a short word, it's a word or a phrase. It can even, some people have a couple lines, but the idea is it's simple, and it's something you say over and over. So people, like in the Catholic tradition, you have the rosary beads, you have the mala beads. If you're in Hinduism, Tibetan Buddhist, you'll see people with their beads. It's just they're saying this prayer over and over and over. And the idea is, it's a little bit different than some affirmations. It can be an affirmation, which is a positive statement said in the present tense. But a lot of times affirmations are so we can have something out there. So I just turned 60. Oh, I want to try something new. I want to be a brilliant dancer. So I start saying the mantra, I am a brilliant dancer. That's an affirmation, but it's not really the same energy we're looking for in terms of a mantra or a daily consistent prayer. The prayer we want to be something that's connecting with us with the divine self, that it doesn't have an outward goal. There's no agenda externally. The only agenda is to connect with your deepest part of your soul. And so to find a word, a phrase, or something that connects you with the deepest part of yourself. So what I'm inviting all of us to do, you already might know it. I know I'm speaking to people who've been on this path for a long time, so you might want to just keep working on it, being with it this month. If you are feeling like I like the one I have, I want to see if there's something else available, do that. If you don't have one, it's just a time to really say, what is that prayer or mantra that I want to continue to say? And so to go back to what this is, it's something you say over and over and over. It's highly repetitive. We'll talk about that on another day. But it's this. The idea is, just as when Cindy did that beautiful reading of the poem, if you recognize she was repeating it, right? And did you know, at least I felt it, that as she repeated it, it seemed to go deeper. Like, oh, I got that a little bit more that time. That it sunk into the soul. That's the idea of a mantra. We're not just training our subconscious, we're actually sinking deeper into that, to this expanded divine idea. That we have all these thoughts going on, and we can train our thoughts to get something externally, but to go even deeper and say, oh no, this is a prayer that aligns me with the infinite universe, with my individual unique self. So the way I'm going to invite you, and you don't have to do this, you can just pick up, just be with it however you want to do it, to come up with your own prayer or mantra. Essentially what I'm saying is throughout this month, play with it, work with it, so that when we go into 2026, we are a practicing house of prayer. That as many of you who want to participate in this, that we go into 2026 knowing what our prayer mantra is and work with it throughout 2026. So it becomes this thing that becomes alive as all of us. So this month is about preparing that, listening, playing with it, tweaking. Oh, maybe that's it. Oh, and then you just maybe throw it all together. No, that's not what I really want. This is the time. We're listening, we're playing. One of the ways that I want to invite you, or two of the ways that I want you to contemplate your prayer mantra, is I want you to think of two memories, and they might be the exact same memory or experience, and they might be two different ones. Doesn't matter. The first one is to contemplate a time in your life where you have felt completely unconditionally loved. Now, the most important thing as you're thinking about this is to not compare it to what you've heard other people say. There is no small or large in God. There's only the divine, and it's measureless. This is very important because people have different experiences of unconditional love. You may have never experienced it from a person. You might have experienced it, you were feeling. So one way to experience, the way to know it's unconditional love is when you've really screwed up, when you feel like you've done something really mean, when you've hurt somebody, when you don't really like things about yourself. There's definitely things about myself, no matter what I do, I just don't like them. And yet you know that you're loved anyway. And I mean know it. Like you know that you're loved. That's unconditional love. To know that even when you mess up, even when you don't like this fundamental habit patterns in your soul that you show up in, and yet even you're still loved. You may have experienced a person loving you at that time. You may have experienced when you're feeling that pattern in you, your dog comes up and licks you in the face. You might experience being out in nature and feeling this presence of a bird chirping at you, and you just know it's the divine reminding you that you're still lovable, no matter how low you're feeling, that this presence works through a bird, or someone smiling at you, that's the divine smile. You've had a moment where you know that you are unconditionally accepted. My favorite example about how the universe can go through, and I've talked about it before, but because I think it's so brilliant, is George Washington Carver discovering 500 inventions with a peanut. And I love the idea of the peanut because it's so small and it's so tiny and it seems so irrelevant. Peanut, how many peanuts do we just throw away? But through giving himself and allowing this peanut to reveal itself to him, he was listening to the peanut. He was allowing the peanut into his soul, and he came up with 500 inventions just from that peanut. The peanut oil, the shampoo, I can't remember. There was a whole list of all these things that he came up with. If you looked at the peanut, you wouldn't think of 500 inventions, but he said it was revealing its secrets, these incredible secrets. It didn't matter the size. In that, the vastness of the universe. So when you're thinking of this moment of unconditional love, because I find people tend to poo-poo their experience as if there's some better experience. There is no better experience. Whatever that experience of unconditional love and what that source is, what we're not worrying about is what the source was, whatever that experience was, to remember it. So many times we can have this beautiful experience of unconditional love, and we can share it we might share it with people. That was cool. Oh yeah, that was a cool experience. It sort of like goes in your file box of a cool experience. What I'm asking you to do for this month is to not just have it be an experience that you share with people or an experience that you just have in your file box of memory. I'm asking you to really call it forth. And I'm going to tell you about the other one, and then I'm going to tell you what I want us to do with that. The other experience, and it might be the same experience, it might be a totally different experience, is a time when you felt your consciousness expanding beyond your body-mind awareness. When you were suddenly aware, again, we go back to that peanut, there's something much bigger going on, that peanut is just a symbol or an icon of the infinite universe. That some moment where you were in awe and wonder. You couldn't help it. You weren't practicing awe and wonder. You weren't trying to do it. It was just like wow. Right? That moment. Something that was, and sometimes I know for me, the awe and wonder doesn't happen when it's happening. It happens only in reflection, because sometimes we're spiritual beings, and when it happens, it feels so completely normal. But then when we're outside of it, back in our normal human self, we're like, oh, wow, that was pretty cool. Again, no comparison. It does not matter the source of the awe and wonder. It could be as small as a peanut. It could be just a tiny moment. Every one of you have had it. Or it could be a big moment, but there's no big or small. It's any place where this divine presence has been an expansive experience in your life. And if you've had many of both or many of one, pick your favorite. The one that really, of all of them, this is the one that really grabs you. This is the one that means something so deep to my soul, and I think you know it. I think everyone here, you know it. And if you don't know it right now, as you reflect on it this week, you'll know it. Because your soul knows it. Your soul was there. So you're going to think of this experience of an experience of unconditional love and an experience of expansion. My invitation to you for this month is to create an icon of it, a symbol of it. So whether it's a picture, a little Play-Doh sculpture, a song. There's this guy I knew who never wrote a song, and when he started contemplating, this whole song came pouring out. He'd never written a song in his life. A poem, something that you can return to over and over again. So now you have an image that you can put on your altar, and if you don't have an altar, you now have one. if you make one of these, because an icon is not about the thing itself, but what it represents. And every one of us have had an experience that reminds us of the infinite beauty of this world, of how unloved we are, and we just sort of, it's just another experience, or it's something I can tell when I'm in class. But now we're putting it front and center. It is a gift that this infinite universe, this divine loving universe has given each of you, specifically to you. To every one of you has received this gift. And we're not just going to say, that's a really cool thing. You're going to create something, some image that will remind you. So every time you see it, it reminds you of that holy moment. I'm going to give you an example. I was in self-mastery class, and this is when I was a student, and I was also working at a private psychiatric hospital, and I had an experience where I was with a patient, and it was an extraordinary healing experience, light everywhere, and instant healing. Not me, coming through words that I was saying, but I had nothing to do, I was watching it. Just happening, light everywhere. So for my project in self-mastery, I took a poster board this big, 2, and I did the before, what it felt like when I first sat down in the room, and then I did a poster board of what it looked like during the healing experience, which, by the way, didn't seem very strange at the time. It's only in retrospect I was like, wow, that was beautiful. But when we're in it, we are all spiritual beings, it feels completely normal, because that's who we really are. I have an artistic ability of a second grader. So when I made this, it was not pretty. You don't go, Harriet, that takes my breath away. This is what art class was like for me in elementary school. The teacher would be going down the row, that's very nice, that's very nice. And then she'd get to me, yeah, that's very nice, that's very nice. That's kind of bad my art was. But here's the thing. So you all know who have been in classes, you share your projects. I had 36 people in my class. I was not ashamed or embarrassed to share my work. The reason why is because I knew what I had created. It wasn't about that image. It was about what it represented, which was so beautiful to me, that piece of childish art was on my altar for years until it finally, after all my moving, it fell apart. Because every time I looked at it, I felt the beauty of God, the power of God, the light of God. I wasn't looking at it from an artistic, that pretty much sucks. Sorry. True, accurate, but I was looking at what it represents. And I'm saying this because as I'm asking you to think about creating an icon, December is such a busy year. You're like, month, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that's one more thing to do, and you're thinking of this beautiful art project you want to create for yourself because this is an icon that's going to be. That took me like 1 hour to do, but it was on my altar for years because of what it represented. What I'm going to invite you to do, if you are willing to do this, for those of you, some of you want to and some of you won't, is on the last Sunday of this month, December 28th, I want to invite you, all of you, whoever decides to, and we'll figure out how to do online. I just have to say one thing with Cindy here and our inviting people. I don't know how we're going to do it online, But what I know is the online community is so important to this community, and we could not connect with you every week if it weren't for the people who are doing tech every week. Without them, we don't have this. We don't have Cindy here with us. We don't have this wonderful connection. And so these tech people, they know that if they don't come, this can't happen. So I'm sorry I didn't mean this, but I want to appreciate our tech people. Every Sunday, they're here. Thank you. And all of you who have been on tech, thank you, thank you. It's an incredible gift. So I don't know what the tech people can or can't do, or if it might not be practical, or I don't know. But maybe we'll be able to show some people's icons. I'm calling it on symbols, symbolic, if that feels better. Icon feels more spiritual to me, but they're both awesome. Maybe we'll have online people who will be able to share. But to share, not because you've done something so incredibly artistic. And by the way, it's a wonderful way to beat yourself up. Like someone comes up and we have artists, and someone writes a great poem or does this great artwork, and you're like, oh no. None of that. Because it's not about the image, it's about what the image represents, which is absolutely stunning for everyone in this room, for everyone online. Your icon is a holy and sacred object for you to remember that you have been loved unconditionally, that you have been in that expanded state, that Spirit is alive and working in your life and always has been, and we hold that place sacred. That's what Holy Scriptures are of any tradition, right? That's that what the Holy Scriptures are about? They're about the great moment. First of all, it's like everyday life with these great moments of the divine that remind us of who we are, and that's why people continue to read their Scriptures, to remember who and what we really are. Oh, yeah. They say, so many traditions, read your Scriptures, read the Gita, read the Bible, read the Dhammapada, whatever your Holy Scripture, the Sutras, whatever is your Holy Scriptures, it's to remember who you are and that every one of us has had our own unique gift. That's what I love about New Thought. It's not just what an organization says, it's about what each of you have received personally and intimately from the divine and making it sacred, not just a memory, not something you just talk about, but something that's on your altar that you see every single day and remember who you really are. If you want to do if your unconditional love experience and your awakening experience are two different experiences and you want to create two different icons, you're welcome to. If you want to merge them into one icon, you're welcome to. This is your journey. This is your wonderful spiritual anchoring of a house of prayer. No one is forced to come up on December 28th, but I know that everyone will want to see your project, your icon. Because it tells us a little bit about your journey, just that one moment of sharing an icon. I know a little bit about your spiritual journey, know a little bit more about you. The other thing, as I want to invite you, if again, this is all by choice, is as you're looking at and working with creating a mantra, using these two moments, or maybe again, it might be the same moment, as an inspiration to create your mantra. Your prayer. I'm sorry, that's a Hindu. A prayer, creating a prayer of remembrance of that moment of unconditional love, that moment of expanded awareness. Because then when you say your prayer, every time you say it, it's bringing you back to that moment and bringing that moment fully present in this moment. I have a prayer that I say every day, and it's based on what my favorite, and I just decided to do this years ago. And what happens is every time I say it, it's like it's alive again. It's not something in the past. Anytime you've touched spirit, it's eternal. It's not in the past. There is no past. Everything is happening simultaneously in the present. So when you create a mantra based on a very real experience that you have had and nobody else has had, and you create a prayer or a mantra, you are reminding yourself of that eternal light that is alive in your life, specifically and uniquely to you in every moment. So with that, and the thing I will tell you, I'm not going to ask you to share mantras and prayers. My beginning was mantra, prayer, same thing. And the reason why, and it's I don't know if it's true or not, but I tend to stay with it. That's why I'm not sharing you mine. Is when I first learned TM was my first time of meditation, and they give you a mantra. And it's a Sanskrit, and they always tell you, don't tell anybody. We had to pay $200, by the way, for our, and I think it's probably more now, but we had to pay $200 for our mantra. We're creating our own mantra. But they taught us, don't tell anybody. And we used to laugh. We're like, that's because they give everyone the same one. They don't want us to know. But I like that about whatever comes forth for you, that you just let it, you've heard about the secret, sacred, and silent, not because, it's just to allow yourself, your soul, to really connect with it over and over. And we'll talk about that more, but just allowing your soul to connect with it. Because the moment we say it outside, there can be, we're human. I don't know, even the saints are so annoying because they always turn out to be human. We're all turned out to be human, so as much as we say don't compare, don't judge, don't think you're better, we do it. We can't help it. And just to stay out of that energy, this is God's gift to you personally and specifically. We'd love you to share your icon, but keep that prayer to yourself, at least for 3 months. Work on it yourself, and then if after that, if you feel comfortable, share it with your loved ones, and etc. But before you do that, really honor your own journey. So I'm not going to ask you to come up and share your mantra or prayer, but we are inviting the icon. And then with the visioning, that's all about listening all month. We're going to be listening. What is the vision for your life? And so we are going to be ready on January 1st, 2026, to blast into this wonderful world as a house of prayer, that we are living it. Doesn't mean we've mastered it. That's a lifetime journey. But we are living being a house of prayer. It is coming alive as every one of us. And that we know every time we come into this community, whether it's a Sunday morning for a class, to do service of some kind, whatever we come here to do, to be on our board, working, we need board people, keeping the business of this center open, because it's very important that this world has communities like this. To everything that we're doing, we bring in this wonderful power of our personal prayer, that when you enter any space, you are that gift of light for everyone around you. You are that gift of prayer. So we truly become individual houses of prayer. We become individual houses of light, lighthouses. That prayer is our light. And collectively, we become this brilliant, and already are, but become even more this brilliant house of prayer, house of light for each other and for the entire cosmos, because there's no limit to our prayers, as within, so without. You with me?
Yes.
All right. It's a beautiful month. It's so wonderful to be with all of you. Let's pray. And so hopefully today, as we were talking about moments you've had unconditional love, experienced unconditional love, moments they've experienced expansion, and just feel into those right now. A prayer starts from what we know, and what we know is what we've experienced. And there is no big or small. No matter how small that moment might seem to you, it is infinite, it is cosmic. So just hold it precious in your heart. And if you've had more than one, at this moment, just hold them all. Just be grateful for what you know. You know that you know that you know it because you have experienced it directly, firsthand. There's been no intermediary, no one telling you. It's yours. It's that divine presence that is yours. It has your name on it. And it is the greatest gift of the universe to you. And so from this place of knowing the divine love, that we are always unconditionally loved, that though we may only have one moment of it, that in fact that moment is eternal, it is forever. And so we just bask in this ever-present unconditional love. We bask in this ever-present awakening, this awakened love, this loving awakening on all levels of our beautiful house of being, the depths of our being, the everyday livingness of our being, the expanded states of our being, on every level and dimension of our beautiful individual houses. We are alive. We are loved. We are delighted by the power and the grace of pure spirit as our life. And as we feel and know this about our life and know that it is cosmic, we hold this for everyone. And we begin first and foremost with our family, our friends in this community, those people that are effortlessly in our hearts, in our minds, in our bodies, in our souls, who've walked this journey with us, whether it was from the time we were born or just you met them today. The eternality of these soul connections, all of our soul connections that we've had on our entire journey, let us fill to overflowing with those soul connections. Even one is infinite. And now we've had more than one, we just continue to thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, love intelligence of the universe for loving us each and individually so specifically, and yet includes all the people we've come in contact, and now we just open it up to this beautiful Tri-Valley area, the Bay Area, this country, this planet. People are sleeping on the other side of the planet. We are one in love, in awakening, in enlightenment. This house of prayer knows no walls. We go into the cosmos, beyond just the Milky Way galaxy, into the infinite galaxies upon galaxies and stars upon stars. We are this infinite cosmic love. We are this infinite cosmic awakening. We include all of it right here and right now into our heart space. And from this place, I invite us all to take just a few minutes, 30 seconds, to just say a prayer of gratitude in your heart. So much love. Love beyond words. Awakening beyond words. That envelops all of life, those wonderful, expansive times and those challenging times. The entire human experience, this wonderful love and awakening includes all of it. There is nothing outside of it. And how grateful I am for all of the beautiful experiences of expansion and love that each and every one of us have had a moment to experience in our life. And that this month we get to remember and to deepen and expand in these gifts as never before. In deep abiding gratitude, we let this word be now, and we say together, and so it is. Amen and amen.
I walk in God.